What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 87. My name is Bret, aka Enigma911, and today I'm joined by the gift master himself, Corey, aka Corey Cudney. Corey, how are you today?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on. This is awesome.
Thank you for being on. Means a lot.
Totally. I love whenever people hit me up. I've got nothing but free time.
Wow, what kind of a luxury is that? Guys, if you want to catch this podcast live, you can always go over to twitch.tv/Enigma911, where it's live every other Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Join the chat. If you're a sub over there, we'd love to have you. If you can't catch it live, it's posted over on YouTube and SoundCloud the very next week, where it's posted topic by topic and as one big video, and MP3 the following Friday. And then last but not least, hashtag ad merch store and get all of your swag over there, t-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand, support us. It would be greatly appreciated. So yes, another episode, another week, another guest. Corey's on for the first time. I'm very excited about that.
Man, you have housekeeping down, by the way. That's very
I mean,
impressive.
87 episodes, I would hope so.
Awesome.
There's some early ones I'm like, oh God, that's just not great. Flubbing over everything. Practice. So yeah, Corey's on for the first time. I'm really excited to chat with him because he's done a lot of content for a couple different communities, and I kind of wanted to pick his brain about that. But I guess I'll start, at the beginning. How did you get into content creation? Because I know you do the GIFs, and then I think you've done some video editing too, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
So my 9 to 5 every day, I'm a video editor.
Oh, okay.
Is my little thing. And so yeah, that's where I got started on all that was back in 2012. Like a lot of people, I was like fascinated by the Let's Play boom, and I was like loving it. And Achievement Hunter Weekly Update was something that I watched every single week. And I was like, these guys are awesome. Like, I want to watch them, and I want to kind of emulate what they do. And that it was just a really cool inspiration. I was like, I bet it's no problem. I bet it's super easy. And it wasn't. But like, I just learned. I picked up, I had a really old, well, it wasn't old at the time, but a MacBook for school at the time, and it had iMovie on there. And so I learned just the bare basics of video editing on iMovie on my little Mac. And when I say bare basics, it's like I was cutting off the beginnings of gameplay videos and I was cutting off the ends, no cuts. And it's like not great, but it was a start. And I teamed up with my best friend Ryan at the time, and I was like, hey, you help me write jokes, and we'll just make an Achievement Hunter Weekly Update. We called it the Weekly Rare Candy, and every week it'd be like, oh, you're level 3 or whatever. And so yeah, it worked out not great, but it was fine. And just time, I evolved to Premiere Elements, which is what I still to this day recommend a ton of people before they hop into the dangerous waters of Adobe Premiere to try out Premiere Elements. Okay. And so, yeah, I went to college in 2014 for it, and I got a little associate's degree, graduated of 2017, and I immediately went to the local TV station and was editing commercials for a couple years. And then I got picked up as a video editor at a game studio here in Austin, Texas.
Dang, that's awesome, man.
It's been a trajectory.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun.
Very cool. Very cool. So with Achievement Hunter, are you still a part of that community as well? Or have you kind of gravitated, as we've seen in past years, to kind of funny and what's good?
So it's definitely been kind of a slow of like, I was super in. So I've been to every RTX since 2013. Cool. I was a Guardian for a couple of years, and then 2019, I was like, I'm just going to enjoy the con again. I absolutely still love RT and everything like that. I've just found myself slowly not watching as much. And so it's definitely kind of funny, is just the perfect intersection of all of my interests.
Gotcha.
Before I wanted to be a video editor, and before Achievement Hunter piqued my interest, I wanted to just report on games. Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty were two, very big inspirations for me. From 2010 to about 2012 is really like when I was like really big into like IGN and watching the reviews and Damon Hatfield and just watching everybody and like, oh, these guys are really cool. I want to do that. And I signed up for a couple of news websites that I wrote for at the time, like Game-Boys with a Z. And I don't know if any of y'all watch VGU TV now, but VGU TV, which a few people from the Kind of Funny community kind of resurrected, I wrote for the original like thing of that. I reviewed Battlefield 4, one of the DLC packs. Some website wanted 12-year-old Corey, well, not 12-year-old, I don't know how old I was, 14-year-old Corey to review Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, which 2 points. How are you going to give that to a 14-year-old? Halo's Halo. You know, that game's going to be perfect. And then also, fun fact, that's the studio that I would go on to work for,
Nice.
Infinity, who did a lot of the maps for that. And so it's weird poetic. I don't know how I got on this tangent, but yeah, I was really interested in the journalistic aspect to it. And so when I got this job at the at the TV station for making commercials, I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm doing what I want to do for a living, and I'm getting paid, and that's awesome. But I'm not making like the content that I want to make, and that's when the gifts came in, and so I started watching Kind of Funny like way more religiously. I had been with them since day one. Again, you know, Kind of Funny and everything. Or sorry, Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty from the Beyond days. But since going into college and everything, I had kind of dropped off of watching Colin and Greg live every morning. And it was more of a like, oh, I'll just catch up every week and I'll watch the podcast. And so about 2017 is when I became like okay, I'm going to be in the Twitch chat. I was just a lurker. I was like, I'm going to start actually, you know, typing in chat and really try to engage with the community. And so that's kind of why I have veered towards that, because that's like Achievement Hunter is the more like entertainment aspect of the games industry, and Kind of Funny is the merging of the two worlds, entertainment and the news and everything. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I just really dig into it. And now technically being a developer, it's like I just find a lot of the stories fascinating and I want to be up on a lot of the stuff.
Gotcha. Very cool. Makes sense. So what led you towards the path of deciding to do all these GIFs?
Yeah, so it's a super funny story how it just kind of landed in my lap of I can't remember which one happened first, the chicken or the egg, but one of the two happened where my producer at the time, Ron, came in my office and was like, hey man, did you know it's super easy to make GIFs? And I was like, oh no, I didn't. And we like walk over to his desk and he like shows me and it's like, oh wow, that's cool, whatever. I don't think anything of it.
Right.
And then like the next day or a couple days later or a couple days earlier, who knows? Andy Cortez on Kind of Funny mentions that they need GIFs because if you type in Greg Miller on the image search bar, really one GIF would pop up at the time, and it was him saying, I like little boys and they like me. And Andy was like, we just need GIFs, man. And so I was like, well, shoot, I'll try it. You know, Peter Hayes was already a pretty well-known name if you were like into the Rooster Teeth community. Right. And so like you already knew, you know, well, if Peter Hayes is out there doing this, you know, I think I can do it. And I wanted to take it a step further and go more towards the like GIF house style of making GIFs where, okay, not only am I clipping out this moment, but I'm, you know, adding animation to the text, or I'm focusing on a certain thing, or I'm moving the camera around the frame, or I'm just adding like that extra layer to where not only is the joke of the moment happening, but I feel like I'm adding to the joke and hopefully making it funnier. And then I've since let go of that, and sometimes I have just clipped out moments and just, you know, stationary camera. But most of the time I try to make it kind of interesting on a couple of layers. And so that's how the Kind of Funny stuff happened. And then Andrea actually contacted me for the What's Good gifts. Yeah, and it was super unexpected, and I was like, I would absolutely love to do that, like 100%. And shout out to Rihanna for hooking all that up at the time. Like they just had like this Google Sheets. Here's these episodes. Here's the time codes that you need. Oh,
fantastic!
And it was like it was so much like all the creativeness was kind of taken out of it, and I was like, all right, cool. Like I don't have to think. I'm just gonna do my thing, and then whatever comes up out of my mind at first, like that's what I'm gonna try to do. So
very cool.
So yeah,
nice. And you mentioned was it Premiere Effects? No, Elements. Is that what you're using for all of that as well?
I was already at Premiere Pro by then.
Okay.
Premiere Elements. If anybody watching isn't really familiar with it or anything, you have like the Premiere Pro, which is part of Adobe's Creative Cloud service, which is great and robust and awesome. but the Creative Cloud service is $620 a year.
Right.
Like yeah, and so it's kind of a hefty ask, and there are monthly subs, if you are more interested in it. There are monthly subs per program that you can drop. I think it's like 25 or 35 bucks a month to
Sounds
get
right.
like Premiere and stuff. But yeah, working at the news station, which don't tell anybody, but I was using the news station computers for all those early years. And so using the news station, I had access to Premiere and After Effects. We didn't have any like plugins or anything, so I don't feel too bad about it. But when I was first getting started, Elements is all of the same principles, but the UI is just really distilled and it's really focused. And it's like, okay, here's your timeline. Here's like the basic tools that you'd need. Here's a text editor. And it really helps just kind of establish the rules of the programs and how nonlinear editors work, and just kind of gets you familiar with the concepts, really.
Gotcha. So as you're editing now, is there certain programs that you seem to be gravitating towards, or like are your go-tos that you would use?
Yeah, I still use Adobe Premiere Pro all day, every day. After Effects is a huge part. Certain Affinity, the studio I work at here in Austin, is absolutely wonderful because they are very encouraging of me to try things creatively and really test my boundaries and stuff. And we have a show called Certain Affinity Ask the Devs, which was 100% my idea as far as the brand goes, which was super cool, kind of a dream come true of me being able to be like, hey, Brad, my boss, I was like, hey, Brad, I have this idea, because we're just editing this thing where it's like, oh, we filmed a bunch of interviews. At the time, it was the last year, but they're like, well, we filmed all these interviews last year. We want to cut some stuff together, and it sounds corny, but I can't think of a better way to put it right now. But really like give back to the community and stuff. Yeah. And it's developers who are answering, like super commonly asked questions. And I think at that one, it was like how to get in the industry, or like advice to newcomers for the industry. And I was just sitting there thinking, it was right after all the Bon Appetit stuff happened, where Bon Appetit kind of dissolved. And I was like, man, that's so sad, because Bon Appetit had such a good style to it. Like all of their content had such a good theme to it, and the sounds and all of the graphics were so cool. And so I was like, man, I wonder if they'll just let me do like a Bon Appetit style thing. And so like I made a little test intro, and I was like, hey, like what do you think about this? And like he ran it up the ladder, and it was like universally loved. And so now that's like the branding for that. And so yeah, there's Premiere Pro, After Effects. There's a ton of little things like Photoshop I'm not great at, but it's always fun to try out. There's the program called DaVinci Resolve, which now Roger from Kind of Funny, I believe he still uses it. I know he was trying to be like a full convert over there. The only problem is Premiere and After Effects work so well together. They have a system called the dynamic linking system.
Okay.
To where it's like any video effects you use in Premiere is like so seamless. You can just hop between the programs, and it's really well done and really well implemented when it's working right. Sometimes it doesn't. That's the only problem, is it's like Resolve has the same thing, but the VFX portion of the editor works so differently that it's a different mindset that I have tried my best to learn over the past like year or so, but it'll take some time to get used to it. But yeah, so those are the main like 3 programs. DaVinci Resolve I try every once in a while, and like there's a like Unreal game engine I'm trying to learn and stuff for the titles that we do. But yeah, for editing, those are those.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, for editing, I've only ever used After Effects. We had to get it for school for game design.
Yeah.
So, and we just used it for like the simple, like, here's the demo reel or motion of whatever the thing, and making a video from that. So it's just been like, okay, I already have the program. I want to edit stuff. Sure, why not? Whatever. So I've been using that.
If you're doing like the full edits out of After Effects, my friend, Premiere will be like a world. You'll be like, this is so much.
I keep hearing good things about Premiere. I'm like, oh shit, am I doing this wrong? I'll have to look into it.
When they just full on edit out of After Effects, and I'm like, I respect it, because After Effects is like so robust and so good for adding, the VFX to the videos. But yeah, it's always for me the basic cuts and the layout of the videos in Premiere, and then whatever needs to be done, kick that out to After Effects. But
gotcha.
Yeah, I definitely recommend trying it out one day.
All right, yeah, I'll have to look into that because I'm not adding anything too fancy to these videos anyway,
Yeah.
so I might not need all that. All right, cool. So when you're making a video before the GIFs or even now, is there a certain plan or like format that you kind of use to tackle these projects, or does it kind of depend project to project?
I'd say it definitely depends on project to project. There are certain things that I gravitate towards in the workflow and everything where it depends on what we're doing. So um, I'm a huge beat-driven editor. Like I love picking a good track, throwing the music on, and cutting the footage to the track. So the easiest way to do that is like find all your footage. Like the best example I can use last year, I think, yeah, it was before the PS5. Last year, I recut the PS4 trailer with that awesome orchestral piece that they used to debut the PS4, and it was super cool. Not to brag on myself, it was super cool because it was like when the video first came out, it was these are all of the games that we have so far. So you're looking at games like Watch Dogs, Infamous Second Son, um, Killzone Shadowfall, like a bunch of the very early PS4 titles at NAC. And those are the ones that they are like showing off, like, look at our tech. This is so impressive.
Yeah.
And so I just recut that and took all of the old footage out and replaced it with what, the PS4 ended up being. And so like you had like the Spider-Mans and the Bloodborns and the Final Fantasy VII remakes and the God of Wars and Uncharted. And it was so well done. So that one is a perfect example because I had the concept in my head, already had the music, wasn't my choice or whatever. That one's actually kind of a cop out because I just mimicked the exact same cuts. But like normally I would throw the videos on in about the length that you think. I've almost been cutting video for a decade now, so you kind of get used to like, okay, these are the sizes of cuts I'll need. And then you just find a good track and lay it down. There are some videos for the professional side of things. Like one of the biggest things that they hired me on for at the studio is called milestone videos, where like you will need the developer and publisher relationship. Publisher pays for everything, developer develops the thing. And at each milestone, they're like telling the publisher like, hey, we're actually doing what we said we would. I promise. Look, here's footage.
Gotcha.
And so a lot of studios will pump out milestone videos, and it's, especially in today's climate, it's just a Zoom call, and it's just like, so if you'll look over at page 36, like this is what we did today. And so we really like to send the publishers really cool things, and they love it. Like it gives a lot of the higher ups more confidence at the publisher because a lot of them may not have time to play the build or anything like that. And so you're actually, giving them cool stylized title cards, and you're saying like, this is what we did. This is the new feature, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so for something like that, the score doesn't matter at all. We're just using a track from in-game, and the footage itself just follows the VO. So like in those cases, the VO is king. So I'll cut the VO, ship it out. Back when we worked in the office together, I would edit the VO, kick that out to my boss. He would do some edits. I'll like cut selects from the gameplay footage that we would hook up with QA to capture, and we would throw the selects down on there, cut it to the gameplay or cut it to the VO, throw down a basic track, boom, there's your milestone video.
Cool.
So yeah, it definitely just depends per project, but the really fun ones are the ones where you just find a cool track, or like I walk every day around the apartment complex since the pandemic hit. I've been doing all those, and that's one of the best ways to find good music is just throw on like Spotify Discover Weekly. And I've cut like the Kind of Funny anime intro that I threw on like the Kind of Funny Reddit and my Twitter and stuff. That was completely because of baby metal music popped up in my Spotify recommended, and I was like, that would be a great anime intro, and that's how that happened.
Cool. So obviously with you making content through all this time up to work, you've started your own podcast, the Just an Editor podcast. What was the thinking behind that, or goal behind it?
Yeah, I was watching, so similar to the GIFs, but different. I had just gotten my job here, and it's I don't know if everybody's like this. I feel like most creatives are like this, where you achieve one goal and you're like, okay, let's move the goalpost back now.
Right.
What's next? And so I was in that weird gray area of like, okay, well, now I'm editing for a living and I'm doing what I want, and now I'm editing the content that I want. Like I'm editing for video games, and
Right.
it's super cool to see all this stuff. And I would just go home and like that's when I really kicked up the streams. I would stream making some GIFs, and I was like, like I really enjoy this, but I'm not really a streamer that much. And so it was just kind of a whatever. And I was watching Stranger Things in lead up to Stranger Things 3. I was watching season 1 and 2. And what that show does like so well is match cuts and carrying motion through cuts. If anybody hasn't seen that show, they will do things like they'll start a whip pan through one shot, cut in the middle of it, continue the whip pan through the end of the second shot, so it looks like the motion's continuous. They'll press play on a radio and music will kick off the next cut. Just little things that like immerse the viewer so much that it is just so good. And so I was just like, man, I would love to talk to the people who edited this. And at the time, I don't know if I actually ever knew that there were more than one editor on a thing. So I think I was like, oh, I would love to talk to the person who made this. And I still never got the interview for the Stranger Things editor, but it really took off in a few really cool ways, where it was like I got immediately like Snowbike Mike, and then even before Snowbike Mike, who at that point I was just like, I'm just gonna interview like content creators, because I can't start interviewing these big editors, like they will never agree to it.
Right.
Well, like before I even started editing, or before I even started interviewing Snowbike Mike, I got an email back from a man named Jim Eberly, who had worked with Troublemaker forever. He was a VFX artist on like a lot of the Spy Kids films and a lot of the like other Troublemaker movies as well. He also worked on Iron Man 3 and Thor Ragnarok. And the big thing for him was he was the lead editor for Game of Thrones season 5 and 6.
Okay.
And so it was like, I was like, oh, like, okay, like people will just respond to me. I have no episodes. And he was like totally willing to talk. And so I like DM'd Greg from Kind of Funny. I was like, what do you recommend for interview tips? And he gave me a couple of really good tips. And it was a really fun episode with Jim. And it's the second episode to come out, but that was actually the first episode that I recorded. And so it was really just jumping into the water. And so, yeah, I did, Snowbike and Jim Eberly and Roger Picorni when he was, still just a freelancer for Kind of Funny. But even then, you look at Roger's resume and it's like he's edited things for Twitch and he's editing things for Kind of Funny and IGN. And it's like, you're just a really good interview. I think Roger's like 2 years younger than me. And I'm like, how did you get all this stuff that you got? Like, that's so cool. And so we had a really good time. And Pixel Brave from the Kind of Funny community has filmed a ton of stuff. And then from then on, like, it's just been, there's only 10 episodes, like, period. So it's definitely a seasonal podcast. But what it is, I'll just release it when people get back to me.
There you go.
I think I have a list of I think there's legitimately like 40 or 50 editors that I've contacted, and like we're on episode 10, if that gives you a reply rate.
Right.
And, it's not even necessarily the editors. It's, going through agents, and sometimes the agents will reply, but like, they're like, oh, they're busy. And sometimes the agents will forward it and I just never hear about it. And then sometimes, it just, which I don't blame them. It's how it's worked. They're busy. And so like, we got a lot of really cool interviews, like the one I tweeted about today because of Falcon and Winter Soldier. It made me kind of reminisce on, I think episode 5 or something was Jeff Ford, who edited all the Captain America movies, all the Avengers movies. He has gone on to edit Falcon and Winter Soldier. And like, I don't know anything. I would imagine that he's editing Captain America 4 because he's been on since the beginning. So it's like, he was a really cool one. Like that was the most nervous I've been before it. But like, I loved his Dark Materials. That's the beauty of this podcast, is like, His Dark Materials season 1 caught me so by surprise. I loved it. I read all the books, and then season 2 was coming out, and I was like, I wonder if I can interview the lead editor for His Dark Materials. And so like I just messaged him, and he was like, sure. And so like we talked, and I just got to gush about that. And so yeah, like Jonathan Sims, who did the Invader Zim Netflix movies. So what it is it's just me going, okay, what properties do I really like, and do I feel confident that I can ask questions about it? And more recently, the roles have been reversed, that I've actually been approached, and people have been like, hey, we have these cool movies coming out. Do you want to interview our editors? And I'm like, oh, can I see the movie? And I've got sent screeners for the first time in my life, and it's like super weird. But so far, everyone that I've seen, like, I'm like, oh, 100%. Like this, like the one I just released was R#J, which was an award-winning film over at Sundance, or that South by Southwest. It was also at Sundance, but it's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet through a phone. Oh. And so when you think about it, you're like, how is that going to work? Like that doesn't sound right or anything. And it like totally works. And I told him in the interview, and I've told him in emails and stuff, like, they had me like, at first you're a little trepidatious, but like by minute 5, I'm like, well, I'm in. Like, this is perfect.
Nice.
And so yeah, no, we have another really good episode coming up with Henry Lovner and Stephen Cantor, who directed The End of Us, which was a movie filmed during the pandemic, about the pandemic, about a couple who has to quarantine together in the pandemic. And that's another one that I'm like, okay, this is like, tread lightly, And I feel like they totally pull it off. It was a super, super fun movie. And so, yeah, it's just been the funnest thing, because I just like talking about editing, and especially these. I don't know if this sounds bad, but I don't feel any pressure when they approached me. And
oh,
so,
right.
like,
Yeah, I get you.
I'm just having fun with them.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones, it's like, oh my God, you made Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Like,
oh God.
you were on the set for like, Tony's death, spoiler, and like all this stuff. And it's just like, oh my God, how can I even do this? But the other ones, it's like, hey man, that's a cool movie.
Right.
I liked it. So yeah, no, that's the podcast. If you want to check it out, it's the Just an Editor podcast on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and everything else.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So I guess last question for me about content creation. Is there anything that, like you mentioned earlier, goalposts, pushing those back, is there anything that you want to try and push yourself to do in the future?
I don't know. It's so weird because I know I go on a lot of rants, but like when I was getting interviewed for the game studio job, they asked me he even specifically was like, I absolutely hate this question, but I'm going to ask it. He was like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what's the goal? And I even told him in the interview, I was like, I don't really know. Like, I didn't think I was going to get this far. So right. I don't really know. And he was like, oh, that's a good answer. And I was like, cool. That's the only answer I have.
Uh-huh.
And so, I mean, I know it when I have it, I guess, but like, I really love doing Just an Editor. There's a lot of very cool things the video game studio is doing that one of these days I'll get to talk about, that like when those start getting announced, and when that I can actually talk about, like those are always really cool. There's a couple of, I absolutely, I always have to preface this. I absolutely love where I'm at. Like, we have a absolutely fantastic studio going on, and they, again, push me to challenge myself. And we have a lot of really cool projects on the horizon, and that we're in the middle of, and, all this stuff. But there are a couple of like pie in the sky developers that I'm like, okay, like I for the first time in my career, I don't have like an updated reel. Like before it was like, I'm updating my reel every year.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But like for the first time since I was 15, I'm not actively like, okay, how can I, get a job or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a couple of developers out there that I would love to work for. And there's other little things like, I tweeted earlier this year a video of a teaser trailer for an upcoming game called Anno Mutationem, and they didn't ask me to do it. They didn't pay me to do it or anything like that. I was just like, I really like the look of this game, the feel of this game. I'm gonna do it. And then I also tweeted that's like, hey man, I wanna make an official trailer for y'all later in the year. And like CA is super cool about being okay with that. You know, they have like a team that you go through and stuff, but I haven't witnessed them turn anything down. And so like, so they've let me keep doing the kind of funny stuff,
Yeah.
which, you know, you can't say about a lot of high profile devs. And so it's just, yeah, like continuing to do the Just Netter podcast, seeing what's available for that. The long term is seeing how far I can go at this studio or at other studios. And, you know, I don't know, I've set myself up accidentally to where there are a lot of avenues I could go. And so, you know, I feel very lucky that I'm in that position in the first place. But yeah, so that's my current goalpost of just like, see what happens. Just keep going.
Hey,
which is kind of a cop out, but
I mean, that's good. I mean, like you said, the different avenues, you have those choices available to you instead of just, you know, streamlined, narrowed. So that's awesome, man. Good for you.
Thank you very much.
Of course. All right. So I think that's going to wrap up topic 1. So Corey, what is your topic today?
So I brought a couple to the table, and I think I'm going to go with a more serious one.
Oh, boy.
It's not deathly serious, but a more serious one, which is, how do you personally push yourself out of your comfort zone? Professionally, creatively, whatever.
Fuck. No, that's a good one.
Exactly. See, it's rough. The reason I ask, I'll tell my story and give you some time to ponder.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I ask is I recently joined a improv class, and it's all over Zoom, which makes it kind of awkward, and which is another reason why I was like, I don't know if I should do this. But like, we have a really good relationship with a local theater called the Hideout Theater, and they do improv classes. They have free ones if anybody's watching and ever wants to try it out. They have free ones, and I took a free one that they like pitched to CA, that they're like, hey, get like 10 volunteers and we'll do an improv class for you. And they kind of tailored it to business stuff, like, oh, how to have fun during meetings and stuff like that, which sounds really, you know, cheesy, but it wasn't. It was really cool. And they gave us a discount for like the regular improv classes. And I was like, you know, I don't know. It's over Zoom. And it's like, I feel like I'm good enough where I'm at, you know, in the realm of improv. And so I was like, I don't know. And I ended up doing it, and it was like a ton of fun. And it's like, as somebody who is like social anxiety, I would give myself a solid 6.5 to 7.5 out of 10 on the social anxiety scale. Before the pandemic, I would have told you like 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, I have reached my limit with not like seeing people,
right.
You know, which is, Corey from 2 years ago would never have guessed that was a possibility. So I had to lower my social anxiety meter a little bit. But yeah, anyway, so that was like a way that I like was like, oh yeah, I should do more of this. And I was going to go to more like concerts and stuff like that in 2020 before everything happened. And so that's what I was thinking, is like, yeah, like this is how I do it, but everybody does different things. And so that was my thought process, is I was like, I wonder what he's got, and if I can learn from him, because maybe you have tricks that I do not know.
I don't know about tricks. Yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting one, because it's been something I've been trying to figure out myself as well, like going forward, because there's certain avenues I've definitely improved a lot in and like pushed myself, and I feel like made progress in. Like, for example, never thought I'd be ever hosting a podcast or doing a live stream ever. I've just never been like the most social butterfly, and that's something I'm still like dealing with. Like we mentioned RTX in the last podcast, like going to events like that or Kind of Funny Live, like you get the couple of people, you're like, oh, okay, you know, these are my people. And then it's this like, yeah. And other than that, it's like, how do I start a conversation with any of you? Yeah, we have all these common interests, but
Exactly. It's amazing. I go to RTX and stuff, and it's like, this sounds awful. Like, we're all here for common interests, but also don't talk.
Right, yeah. It's like, I'm good where I'm at.
I appreciate you being here and like everything, but like, it's, you know, we understand. We have an understanding.
Yeah. So yeah, like this has been a challenge in itself. And I mean, I got to think, I guess my tip and trick would be find people to do it with, because I wouldn't have gotten into YouTube or anything unless my friend John did originally. He's like, I want to do this thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll support you and do whatever I can. And then a couple, like maybe a year later, he's like, okay, I'm good. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm having fun with it. I'll keep it up.
Yeah, now I'm just here.
Yeah. And then finding other like-minded people to talk with, whether it's yourself or other people to invite on for the podcast, or like Extra Life's always a fun event that I've been doing since obviously I saw it with Kind of Funny, like spitballing ideas with people there or having people over to do the event. Like that's always been a blast. So yeah, I guess that would be one thing, is find people with common interests to do it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, another thing for me, I don't know, it's just kind of been like, I'll say with the podcast specifically, is I have to stay consistent. Nothing's going to do well if you don't stay consistent. And I'm not saying like, oh, we blew up and we're doing great on numbers. No, that's always going to be a thing that I'm behind on. But like, if I want it to do well, and I get in my head all the time of like, oh, this is bad, oh, this is this, blah, blah, blah. It can't get better if I don't do anything about it. So I think that's a big motivator for me, is like, you're thinking all these thoughts of like, I want this to be good, I want this to be better, whatever it is, so do it, kind of thing. And, you know, that could be tough from time to time. Like, I don't feel like doing anything, I'm just going to chill or whatever. So kicking yourself in the butt to put yourself out there. For me specifically, like inviting people. Like, I think the next 2 months and a half, I have a guest lined up for every episode. I'm like, yes, this is great. Yeah. That's so awesome. It's just like sending them out. Like you said with Justin Eder, just like, hey, reach out. If people reply, great. Yeah. If not, you tried.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. 100%.
So, let's see. Jeff in the chat. Much better at promoting yourself than you were a year ago. Yeah, I don't know. That would just be repetition, and one of those things that just like, you got to be better at this.
I think about that with like the Justin Eder has its own Twitter account. And I'm like, man, I haven't posted that thing in forever. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's a new episode out. And I'm like, no wonder, like nobody's liking it. And I'm like, yeah, the algorithm like doesn't throw that at all. Like, you haven't posted it forever. Like,
right.
Yeah. So I feel you on that one.
Yeah. That's something I definitely need to do better at. Like, I'm better at communicating it with it, I think. Like you mentioned with the rigmarole right at the beginning, like that comes out no problem. But yeah, that social interaction part, it's not like I can't do it. It's just like I'm not in that habit of doing it. I guess you would say. So yeah, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, like I know these avenues to do it. And like MC Fixer has been a big one that's like, hey, if you want things to grow, this is what you need to do. And I'm like, okay, crap, now I gotta do it, you know, kind of thing. So yeah, content wise, I would say just do it. But then there's a lot of avenues like I still don't feel 100% with, like still the social thing. Like, not that I don't want to talk to people, it's just like I said, making that breakthrough, I guess, step. Like, once Kind of Funny Live does happen again, will I be better at it? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Dude, I have such a crutch with that where it's like, I am so happy that the GIFs took off, because it's like I found it with RTX, which was so weird that like I had more than one person that was like, oh, you make the GIFs. And I was like, yes, like, that there's a first step,
right?
Like, which I know what you're talking about, because it's like, that's always the worst, is the beginning of it, especially like when you're at like in line, example, for like a Kind of Funny panel, where it's like, not only at RTX are we all here for the same thing, but we're all in this line specifically for Kind of Funny.
Right.
So it's like, this is, you know, such a concentrated thing. And like that first step is always the worst. So yeah, I'm so excited for Kind of Funny Live. Whenever the next one is, with the office opening party and everything. For a lot of reasons, but one of them is it's like, all right, well now, like I feel pretty confident that I can go in and talk to a lot of those people, and especially like Kind of Funny, we've all been in this online community for a while now, so it's like, oh, it's Lexi Gunner, oh, it's Gifted Dim, like you know, you just have those people that and they can come up to you and like, hey man, that it happened with Jake Buckeridge, I believe his name is. At RTX, where he was like, hey man, I tweet, we tweet all the time and we're in chat.
I'm like, there you go.
Sweet, yes, that's awesome to meet you, man. So yeah, that's always the that's always another little that is like, oh, if you've already talked to each other online, even though you don't know that you know the person, it's like a lot easier.
For sure, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the only last thing that I can think about to help myself push past stuff, this past year, obviously being a shit show that it is, being home, I've gotten like a planner, like I think it's a, whatchamacallit, like a school seminar. Yeah, it's a big, I got a big one, but just writing things down.
I thought this was going to be so much bigger. I ordered it and I was like,
oh,
okay, it's tiny.
Yeah. So just writing things down that either I want to accomplish or something like that. Because I'll always have like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. And then 30 minutes later, forgot what it was or whatever. Yes. So trying to stick with that and be consistent once again. But consistency is the big thing that I feel like if I get that down, at least I know I'm putting the effort in. So hopefully that growth can happen. And like I said, there's areas I still need to improve at. Like I mentioned, viewership. Like not a lot of people listen to this. Not a lot of people watch stream. But I feel happy with it. If I just keep pushing, I feel like more people will latch on. Kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I've definitely found that, like, because I did, YouTube videos for like 5 years before I got the job at the news station. And it's like, like you're really not going to do numbers, for the long, most people will not do numbers. But as long as you're happy and you're feeling fulfilled with the content, it's like, it doesn't really matter how many people are watching it. I found that with the Just Editor podcast. I think our highest viewed episode is the Jeff Ford, and it's only at 250 views, which is nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
But for me, I was like, oh, it's 250 views.
Yeah.
But it's like that on top of getting to actually talk to him. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, that's as long as you're happy with just the production itself. I think the rest of it is just icing on the cake, really.
Yeah, it'll all fall in the line. And that's the big challenge, is finding that level that you get happy, because you don't want to be over stressed about things and overthinking it, because then it's just like, oh no, this is not good.
It's not as much fun. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think that's what I got for just pushing past stuff. I don't know if that's helpful or whatever, but it's always a constant thing to work on and challenge. And like I said, next convention, whatever it is, it will be sounds weird, but a big test. Okay, how much can I do?
Yep, exactly. I feel the exact same way, where it's like, whatever that next thing that I do that's like a bigger group of people, like, that's going to be an interesting one. That's going to be an interesting one for even the best of us, because a lot of people, haven't been around people. A lot of people shouldn't have been around people, but have been. And so they've been keeping them skills sharp. But a lot of people just haven't been around other people. And I saw a tweet like last week or something that's like, man, that first con back is going to be a shit show. And it's like, it really will be. People are just going to be like, I don't know how to say things to you. Yeah.
I've been in my own place.
Video games?
I've been in my place for a year. How do I communicate with people? Great. Oh boy. All right. I think that wraps on topic 2. Anything else you wanted to add onto that?
No, I think I'm good with it.
Cool. Well, I like that one. That was a good topic. Thank you for bringing that. So we're moving on to topic 3. So viewers, if this is your first time watching the podcast, whenever I have a guest on for the first time one-on-one, I like to take them to a little lightning round of questions so you kind of get to know them a little bit better. So I'm going to ask Corey a series of questions right now. First thing that pops in his head, he's going to let me know what his answer is. And Corey, anything you want to elaborate on, feel free to. And if not, just keep it as the answer is totally fine. Are you ready, good sir?
I am so ready.
All right. First question. Favorite color?
Blue.
All right. Cats or dogs?
Every car I've ever owned.
Oh, okay. Cats or dogs?
Well, I got to say cats. I have a cat. He's around here somewhere. They're much they're really not better at anything, but like they're just, it was like, so you said that I could elaborate.
Yeah.
And boy, do I have a story for
Strap
you.
in, everybody.
So I grew up with 2 dogs and 2 cats. Very even household, and I loved them, all 4 of them. They were great. And I moved out of my apartment after college, I moved out of the house after college. And I just went to a local community college, like I mentioned earlier. So it's not like I went to a dorm or anything cool kids get to do. But like, so anyway, I like move out and I'm like, man, it's kind of lonely here. At the same time, this girl that I knew from high school that I had a really big crush on in high school, we like went to prom together and everything. And we went to college at the same time and, stayed friends and everything. And she had just gotten this really cute cat. And every time, when we would talk, I'd be like, that cat's cute. And her and her significant other at the time broke up. And she was like, I don't know what to do with this cat. And she was like, do you want this cat? And I was like, yes. And then I was like, ooh, I don't know. Do I want a cat? And like, I had already committed, so it was too late. And so the cat comes in and he is like the cutest thing of all time. But man, he is a problem. And he is 5 now. And he just continued to be a problem. Like when I would talk to her, she was working 2 jobs. And she was like, he just wakes me up at 4 in the morning every day. And I was like, it's fine. I'll take him. And then lo and behold, at 4 in the morning, this cat is just going bonkers. Not anymore, but some mornings he'll still just like go bananas at 4 in the morning like cats do, but like not like regular cats. It's like, I'm going to find something that makes noise and I'm going to make you wake up. And it's just the worst. And so we have a very antagonistic relationship, but we go out on walks and he's adorable, but that's all he wants to do is go on walks. And so I'm in the middle of working and he's like, again, very adorable. He'll like get next to my chair and get on his hind legs and like pat my side. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, buddy. Like I'm busy. And like, I'll push him off and he'll be like, meow. He'll like make a, sassy meow. And I'm like, oh, back off. And then he gets more aggressive where it's less of a tap after a little while and it's more of a slap. And he's just like,
no.
He's like, Bam, let me outside. And there's never any claws involved. But it's always like you can feel the hate behind it where he's like, I'm getting tired of your shit, Corey. And I'm like, we're not going out, Archer. And so we end up going out. And so yeah, I love the thing, but he is rough. He is rough.
You have no idea how much I related with that story.
So as soon as you started doing the pantomime thing, I'm like, I've never met anybody that knew about it.
My girlfriend moved out here back in August, and her cat as well joined us. And Artemis, yeah, he's great. He's sleeping most of the day, but yeah, when he's in his zone to be crazy, oh, he is crazy, running around, meowing for no reason. And then the going outside we've done a couple of times just to be like, let's see what he does. So we got his little harness and his little leash, and he'll walk around. He doesn't like walk around like a dog will. He'll just like, we're here, whatever. Just
Archer,
go
like
do
leads
thing.
me around.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is amazing. I have never met anybody that's like so in step with my cat parenthood. This is amazing.
Yeah, and then like I mentioned before recording, I work nights. So the nights that I have off, I don't like switch back to a regular schedule. I'm like, that will be horrible. So I'll stay up all night. So like I said, usually he's sleeping, but occasionally he'll come at some point, go right next to the chair like you said, hello hind legs, and then I just hello, and he'll pat me on the head.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
So yeah, he's great, but yeah, when he's in his mood, it's like, oh my God, stop meowing, please.
Yeah, you're like, shut. I feel so happy about this cat because like he was deathly silent. Not deathly. He was very silent when I first got him. Like he never spoke a word, and I inherited him with a squirt bottle, and she was like, just squirt him when he gets out of line. And I quickly found out that's just rude. I don't like doing that because like. It makes me feel guilty, and so we got rid of the squirt bottle.
Oh, okay. We have different mentalities then, because I have joy when I pull this out.
I can't do it. He's so because then he's like looking at me like, I don't know if your cat does this. My cat would be like, I'm gonna face death head on, where he would like look at you, but he like squints.
Yeah, he's like, I know it's coming.
Yeah. This has just turned into a cat podcast, Catcast.
Oh God.
And so yeah, no, it's now he like meows all the time, and it's like I guess it's like people always say it was like, oh, if they'll like reflect their owners, so if you talk to them a lot or whatever, they'll start talking back. I don't know if
Interesting.
that's true, but yeah, he like talks all the time now, and I'm like, yeah, I remember when I first got you and you were like just like completely silent. Now he's just an asshole.
Yeah, one other story I got about him. So Kate brought him out maybe a month before she moved. Like, she visited, brought the cat because she thought that would be easier before we fully moved her out. And you mentioned like the 4 a.m. thing. So Artemis, when I was sleeping, for some reason, would go into the kitchen, find a cabinet, and just go,
Yes!
And I'm like coming out, I'm like, dude, I'm trying to sleep, please.
Will he find his rhythm and just go?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh no.
I've never met anybody that like this. This is amazing. It's the same thing with, and he doesn't do it that much anymore. But when he does it, he's in. And it's like riding a bicycle for him. He never forgets. And like I've trained myself now. It's like if I hear that first, and I'm like, my eyes pop open, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yep. Alrighty. On to the next question.
Lightning round.
What is your favorite game?
Oh man, I've got to say, I'm gonna say Infamous 2. That's the first ever platinum that I had. I mentioned it earlier. I have a couple of pie in the sky developer studios, and Sucker Punch is definitely one of them, because Sucker Punch has not made a game that I didn't like ever. I didn't get to play Sly Cooper as a kid, but I always thought that Sly Cooper was like, because we were like a Ratchet and Clank household.
Oh, okay.
And like, you know, Ratchet and Clank, we were like, okay, we're Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter, but like you can't have all three of them in the house, you know? It's like it's bad for business. And so I would always watch my brother play Ratchet and Clank, and like we would play Jack and Daxter, I guess. I can't remember that one as much, but I always like thought like, oh, Sly Cooper looks cool. And so like when I got it way after it released, but that Sly Cooper PS3 collection, I was like, oh, let's give it a try. I freaking love Infamous 1 and Infamous 2, and I have now platinumed every Infamous game. And so it's like, I'll go, and the Sly games are very easy platinums on PS3s as well. And so I was like, oh, I love it. And so I've platted Sly 1 and 2, and I haven't gotten to 3 yet. I play like 1 every like 2 or 3 years, which is a super weird cadence. But and then I went back and got, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter or anything, but they actually retweeted me. And it's funny because like with like Greg and the Kind of Funny guys, I've gotten, you know, used to interaction with them. And so it's like, oh, that's, you know, it's super cool. You know, I'm very thankful like every time that they signal boost me. It's awesome. And it never really gets old to see that retweet. But when I saw Sucker Punch retweeted, I was like, oh, recognition. And yeah, like I went back because I didn't know that they even made this game. It's called Rocket Robot on Wheels, and it's an N64 game, red cartridge. And they made their own 3D platformer in the N64 days. It was published by Ubisoft. And it's so funny because you can see like, oh, okay, yeah, this goes on to be Sly Cooper. There's literally a raccoon that looks just like Sly Cooper in that game.
Okay.
And so it's like, man, I love it so much. And so Infamous 1 I saw in the back of a magazine in Hollywood Video, and I was like, I want this. And so we got it, and it was awesome. And Infamous 2 came out, and I played that the UGCs, the user generated content, over. There had to have been a better way to do this. But like, I just remember playing it for so long, grinding out that last trophy, and I got it, and I was like, this is amazing. But closely tied with Last of Us. But I feel like Last of Us is such a boring answer these days that everybody is going to throw out Last of Us. And so I've got to be different. I've got to say Infamous 2, which is, in my opinion, like right up there with like Infamous 2, Uncharted 2, and Last of Us.
Cool.
I was a Halo kid, but my top 5 games are like Sony and Nintendo.
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, the Sly Cooper games I fell in love with. Those were fantastic.
Oh, they're so good.
And yeah,
so much fun.
Once you get to it, 3 and then eventually 4. Good stuff.
I almost bought 4 during when we all went through the PS3 panic. And con's over. Yeah. Yep. I almost was like, oh, I gotta go get it.
Yeah. All right. Favorite movie?
See, now this one's like, when I was a kid growing up, I loved The Warriors.
Okay.
So I would have said The Warriors, but I haven't seen that movie in forever. And for somebody who has a film podcast, I don't really have one. Like, it's so weird. Like, I mean, I guess the Winter Soldier, because I was a Captain America kid growing up, and So like I loved Captain America growing up, but I didn't read Captain America growing up. I was one of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
And although we did get a lot of comics as a kid, so I don't know why I never got a Captain America comic, but I loved Captain America, and the first one was amazing, but my brother had already read Winter Soldier and just hella spoiled it for me before the movie came out. But like, I still absolutely love it. And then especially going on to interview Jeff Ford, it's like, it just adds that extra layer. That was one of the things that I just gushed about with Jeff, when I was like, that knife fight between Bucky and Steve. And it's like, yeah, they were working on the choreography for that forever. And it was like, we were talking about it. It was super cool. So, I mean, I guess I would say Winter Soldier.
All right. Favorite type of music?
So I mean, rock, I guess, is like the safe answer. But these days, I guess like pop punk is the other answer, because I didn't know what the genre was, but I knew the flavor, you know, on Spotify, and
Gotcha.
Spotify was like, hey, you've been listening to a lot of pop punk. Like, hey, do you want to just listen to that? And I was like, it's not pop punk. I don't listen to pop punk. And I clicked on it. I was like, holy shit, I listen to pop punk. And so really, I would say rock, you know, right now, you know, and well, Andy didn't introduce me to Coheed and Cambria, but he's definitely one of the big factors that really got me into Coheed and Cambria. And so I'll like still go back and listen to them a lot. But yeah, I guess pop punk.
All right. Favorite song?
Man, wait, give me like 2
Yeah,
seconds.
you're good.
Tell you, there's one that I've been listening to. So a new Church's song came out. I don't know when, but it's called He Said, She Said. It's pretty good. I've been listening to that a lot. The other one that is really good is called Getting Over It by King Theta. I don't know anything about him. It popped up in my Spotify recommended, and I would be remiss if I didn't say a Dark Halo song. There's 2 A Dark Halo songs that I worked on, and I filmed like the music video for one of them, and did the lyric video for the other. And I am such a horrible coworker that I don't remember their name. But give it. I Revenant.
Okay.
And it's not Starfall. I didn't work on Starfall. Vector Unknown. I Revenant, Vector Unknown. You should all go listen to them. I worked on them. You should all go like them.
All right.
They're also just really good.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Dream job when you were a kid?
Probably either rock star or pro wrestler. I was a big I want to be on a stage kid. So yeah, no, and I still love rock, and I still love pro wrestling. So
nice.
It works for me.
I see a return episode in the future about the wrestling. Gotcha. If you could have any animal to be a pet, what would you pick?
I don't know if I have that many crazy pet ideas.
Okay.
Like, I feel like a panda would just be a nuisance. Those are the ones that like have all the STDs and stuff, right? Like, no, that's a koala.
Right.
I don't want a koala. I don't know. I mean, I would just say a cat that behaves well.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good one.
If you could meet one celebrity, alive or dead, regardless of status, tier-wise, whatever, who would it be?
Man, I don't know, because it would be cool to meet like Chris Evans and stuff. Be like, hey man, you did really good Captain America, and you wear sweaters really good. So like that's a bonus. RTX kind of ruined me, because for a long time like those were like the celebrities of like,
right.
Oh, I gotta meet Achievement Hunter, you know, and then but I already met them, and so like I don't know, like I guess I'll say Chris Evans. Like Robert Downey Jr. would be cool. Be like, hey man, you like kickstarted the MCU. That's pretty dope. Like I bet you feel pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I guess Chris, there's probably like an obvious answer that I'm not thinking of, but that or like The Rock. The Rock would be pretty dope. He's probably busy though. I probably only get to meet him for like 5 minutes.
Hi.
Yeah, he's got like a PA walking him around. That's like, all right, Mr. Rockstar, this is Corey Cudney. He used his genie wish to meet you. Like, hey, nice to meet you. That's it. There you go.
You look at the genie. What the hell? You didn't say how long.
Shawn Michaels. That's what I'll say.
Oh, okay,
Shawn Michaels.
there we go.
Which that's a pretty easily attainable one, honestly. Well, not right now, but like I feel like he'd probably frequent like cons and stuff.
Fly to Florida. You can make it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would like to audition for NXT.
There you go.
Then I mean, he can turn me down still, but at least I get to meet him.
Favorite season?
I would have said winter, but there was that storm that just like screwed Texas over.
Yikes.
Man. So I've actually come around on summer. I didn't like used to love the sun, and then like I said earlier, I have been walking and everything, and I'm about to cross the 500-mile mark in the last year.
Nice.
Which is, like crazy. And I mean, I'm still gonna we'll go happy medium and say fall, because you get like the nice cool nights, and you can watch Halloween, and like you can like that's a good mix of the two. I'll say fall.
There you go. Favorite holiday?
Christmas is such a vanilla answer. I guess Christmas.
All right.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, top tier shit right there. That's amazing. I love Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'll say Christmas.
All right. Almost done. What is a skill you wish you could have?
I mean, I guess I can turn it around to what we said earlier and say like easily like approaching people.
Okay.
Like striking up conversations, I guess. That's a pretty good skill.
Yeah.
Because I feel like once you twist my arm and get me in the conversation, I feel like I can work with what I've got.
Yeah.
But like starting the conversation is the issue, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, and then last question: what is a game that you would recommend I play?
Oh shoot. I'm trying to think of one that's not like blatantly obvious, because there's like the obvious ones. It's like A Link Between Worlds I played earlier this year and loved it.
Okay.
I played this earlier today and I actually really like it. It's called Hot Shot Racing. It's made by Sumo Digital and stuff. It's on Xbox Game Pass, and it's very reminiscent of the old arcade racers.
Okay.
And I say old arcade racers, but like I just go to a movie theater and they're sitting there and they all have that really cheesy, it's like get started a race, like that, like really cheesy VO in there, but they like nail it, and it's got like the polygonal style, and it's all based on drifting. And so it's like, as somebody who doesn't play racing games, I play Forza Horizon games, like that's the extent of my racing game. That's probably the one that I'd recommend right now, because you can pick it up and play it and just play like a couple of races and you're golden.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, everybody, this has been another episode of the Wait What Are We Talking About podcast. My name is Bret, a.k.a. Enigma911, and today I was joined by Corey, a.k.a. Corey Cudney. Thank you so much, Corey, for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. I didn't know what to expect. And I went in blind. I normally like to do homework, but I went in blind. And it was fun.
Well, good.
I had a fantastic time.
Good. I'm glad. We'll definitely have to get you back on at some point, talk wrestling or whatever else.
I am 100% ready to talk about wrestling.
Nice. Remember, chat, you guys can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every other Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat like Papa Griff and Lady Wonderland and Jeff Reg did today, if you'd like to. If you can't catch it live, you can always catch it over on YouTube and SoundCloud the very next week, where it's posted out topic by topic and is one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. And last but not least, #ad merch store. Get all of your swag over there. T-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand. Support us. It would be greatly appreciated. Corey, once again, thank you very much, good sir, for being on the podcast today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chat, listeners, viewers, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for doing your thing. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.